What's goody? Hey, back again with another video. Um, just trying to keep you guys informed of what I've been able to observe, or rather, what I've been allowed to observe by the Most High, um, my Creator. So this week, I got uh, two articles, mainly about depopulation and how a part of the depopulation agenda will result to massive decline in population through famine, starvation, and food shortage. So I'm gonna read through the articles that I have in front of me, and I'll chime in every now and again. All right. So globalists have entered the kill phase of the Great Reset. This was a big week for the globalists. They feel it's their time, the go time, to launch the most difficult phase of the Great Reset so they can get on with what they call the fourth industrial revolution. Now, the term the Great Reset has been a term which was coined around 2019 when the pandemic happened by Klaus Schwab, actually. He wrote a book about it, about what's to come in the way society is organized in terms of digitization, the fourth industrial revolution, uh, how data is exchanged, money, the way we exchange information, and also digital identification. I haven't had the chance to read the book yet, but a lot of the topics spoken about the Great Reset seems like them trying to organize society into communist, a more communist version of living, whereas the masses of people are more or less equal to one another, and that they do not own assets, they do not own the cars that they drive, they do not own the houses that they live in, and they do not own the means of production. But I definitely encourage you to read up about the Great Reset. I haven't delved too much into that as a topic yet. And maybe that's a topic for another video, man. In fact, that's actually a good idea for the next video. I'll take note of that. Now, by industrial revolution, this is talking about digitization, pretty much, relying on digital technology for the exchange of information, the exchange of data, the exchange of currency, the exchange of through the exchange of cyber assets through systems such as the Internet of Things, cloud computing, computing, and AI. The fourth industrial revolution, as explained by World Economic Forum guru Klaus Schwab, will lead to a fusion of every human being's physical, biological, and digital identities. It's basically the dawning of a new era based on transhumanism and technocracy, something akin to what was laid out in the novel Brave New World. But they can't get there until they reset everything, kill off the old, and bring on the new. Resetting the world isn't something you can pull off by just pushing a button. It requires a series of well designed global crises. As Schwab and his chief advisor, Yuval Noah Harari, have said on more than one occasion. So the globalists have been meeting this week in Geneva at the World Health Assembly, and they have been meeting in Davos at the World Economic Forum Summit. The two cities, Geneva and Davos, are both located in Switzerland, about 3 hours apart by car. Between these two meetings, the globalist predator class will be getting their instructions on what to do and what to expect over the next 12 months. And yeah, at these meetings are attended by the world's most powerful, the world's most wealthiest and influential individuals. This includes um, uh, government leaders, national leaders, high politicians, even royal families such as members of the royal family such as Prince Charles. And of course, you can take a guess, Bill Gates. Okay, so Schwab opened the meeting at Davos by saying, "The future is not just happening, the future is built by us, by a powerful community, as you here in this room." Schwab said, "We must prepare for an angrier world," which I take as a bad sign that the globalists are getting anxious, feeling that if they don't take drastic action soon, all their plans to erect an end times global government could be wasted. Schwab added that we have the means to improve the state of the world, but two conditions are necessary. Listen to this. The first one is that we act all as stakeholders of larger communities. And second is that we collaborate. So the writer questions Claus and asks, what specifically do they collaborate on? And what exactly does he mean by improve the state of the world? He believes he's referring to improved conditions for the 1% who run the big banks and corporations and and their minions, which might jack it up to 3 or 4%. For the rest of us, they have an agenda of misery. If we look at the WEF UN agenda, which is supported wholeheartedly by the governments of the US, UK, EU, Canada, and Australia, it's all pointing to a mass culling of the human population. They've triggered the kill phase. As they see it, we can surmise from their rhetoric the culling is needed in order to save the planet and its resources for they, the globalist elites represented this week at Davos and Geneva. They have told us their plans ahead of time. They always do. We will own nothing, we will have no privacy, and we will learn to like being totally dependent on the government and its corporate partners for our very survival. And it's not that we will, okay, maybe there will be no privacy, but I personally feel that there's no privacy already. I dropped a video about how these organizations, such as the WEF, are recording and investigating everything you say and do. They have told us their plans ahead of time. They always do. We will own nothing, we will have no privacy, and we will learn to like being totally dependent on the government and its corporate partners for our very survival. And this is going to be a slow transition. It starts off gradual and slow, the way they get you to depend on them. As you guys already know, with digital identification and with digital currencies, eventually, the population will be forced to rely on the government recognized digital currencies. But apart from that, one of the other ways that they get you to lean on them is universal basic income. And this starts off gradually. First, they propose it, then they run tests or experiments on the population, to find out in the beginning stages who's for it, who's not, who's willing to collect, who's not, how much of it they spend, how much of it do they save, and the more unemployment that happens, the more people become laid off, and the higher grocery prices rise, more and more people will be leaning towards universal basic income. They already have pilot programs in Germany, in China, and and in India. So it's clear that it's still a part of the test phase. It's still gathering data and figuring out the tweeds of it and how to implement this into a larger population. All right, so I'm gonna play this video for you guys. A message from David Beasley, who's the executive director of the United Nations, just speaking about what they've come to me for in Davos, and just like I guess some sort of inspirational message to his billionaire friends.
Well, I'm here in Davos, and as you can imagine, we're facing a food security global crisis. And what better place to be with world leaders from the government sector as well as the private sector, the major corporations, some of the wealthiest of the wealthy, who, as I'm telling them, the crisis is here, and we can't solve it without your engagement. From the billionaires to the private sector to the government, we've got to come together to end this crisis. Otherwise, millions of people are going to die in famine. There'll be destabilization and mass migration. But together, we can get it done. And so at Davos, let's get it done.
Did you hear that last part? There'll be destabilization and mass migration. He's just giving you a hint of what's gonna happen eventually. Destabilization and mass migration, of course, due to food shortages, due to shortages in resources, which will eventually lead to mass migration, resulting in larger gigacities, more dense cities, and overpopulated living areas, which will definitely increase overall cost of living in terms of rent, in terms of groceries. We're gonna have lines going around blocks just to get basic groceries. And these basic groceries will go according to a list of what you are allowed to buy, not according to the amount of money you have. Of course, you'll spend money to buy those groceries, but it is up to the state to distribute and um to give out what each person so rightfully needs in order for a basic living. Now, another thing that he said was pretty much talking about his wealthy friends. You have the wealthiest of the wealthy gathering. You have his billionaire friends, his national leaders, I believe he said. And what my problem with that is that you know when you're of that rich or wealthy population, when you're a billionaire and you're born and raised in that kind of lifestyle, and you've never taken a bus to work or a bus to school or a train or you've never had to get up early in the morning just to meet your job, that's to me it seems like there is no relation, like there is no way that a billionaire would ever necessarily be concerned about what a commoner or what a person who who works in the working class goes through in his or her everyday life. I truly believe that they do not care about your well-being or how much food you can spend to buy groceries to feed your children or family members. I believe that they don't care about the trials and tribulations that you face or anything that you go through. To be honest, I it's, I even believe that they they do not like they do not like commoners. They do not like the average earner. They do not like basically someone who was not on their tax bracket. And that's a part of the reason why they want to depopulate the earth. They believe that there are too many peasants on the earth. They believe that it's hard to control the people or to establish the laws, the rules, and the regulations that they wish to have established as long as there's a certain population of people. Okay, continuing down. In his formal address to the WEF, Beasley explained that the global food situation was already bad before the Ukraine war, but that the situation has since escalated to become what he called the worst humanitarian crisis since World War II. Then there's the creepy cover of The Economist magazine. This is the Rothschild owned publication that caters to the elite globalists. It pictured a field of wheat with the kernels of what represented as skulls, with the title being The Coming Food Catastrophe. And this isn't a forecast, it's more like a prophecy. They're not warning you of what's to come, they are telling you of what's to come. A great depopulation, and of course, there's going to be a lot of reasons why people are going to be killed off. Um, Food shortage, war, disease, and probably like natural disasters from their witchcraft machines that they have devised, like Harpo and I forgot the other one that can create earthquakes. Maybe that's Harpo too. I don't know. If any of you guys know any more about that, please post it in the comments. Now I wonder if these skulls have anything to do with alluding to the Skull and Bones Society. Anyways, conservative playlist reports that the Rockefeller Foundation, another globalist club with ties to Bill Gates, Schwab, and the WEF, recently warned that a global food crisis of biblical proportions is scheduled to arrive at our doors within 5 to 6 months. You know, one of you guys one of these days have to like start tallying up how many times you come across Bill Gates in our articles. Like at this point, I'm not even like trying trying anymore. Like these guys just happen to show up. I'm just as surprised as you are. You know, when I do this research and look at these guys and I see that, oh, there we go, more ties to the Bill Gates and Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. So before we head on, I want to touch on the way these guys like to communicate, the way these guys like to be esoteric about their agenda. It says here that they recently warned that a global food crisis of biblical proportions is scheduled to arrive at our doors within 5 to 6 months. Now, this word, biblical proportions, they didn't just put that there just for happenstance or for dramatic effect. No, they're telling you what they're doing. They're telling you how this ties to biblical prophecy, more specifically, the prophecy of the book of Revelations. It talks about incoming famine and that being one of the stages of the end of days. And I don't want to scare you guys, you know, the end of days is not the end of the world. It is not um earth being destroyed or everybody dying. It's just the end of this society and the beginning of the next society, the beginning of the next rulership, the beginning of the next societal principles, the next law, the next people who will inherit Earth. So, Rockefeller Foundation President Rajiv Shah described what is soon to unfold as a massive, immediate food crisis that will strike the entire world, leaving no country untouched. Everybody getting this depopulation, boy. We all getting depopulated, bro. Everybody. Ain't nobody safe. And I got here a supplemental article just to elaborate about the incoming food crisis or the food shortage. All right, it says here that the president of the Rockefeller Foundation is calling for what could amount to heavy investments from the US to alleviate a food crisis triggered by Russia's invasion of Ukraine. And this is a concept that I want you guys to understand. A lot of the times they're going to find reasons, they're going to find excuses and give them to you for the incoming food crisis or any depopulation related crisis. Look here how they want to blame the incoming food crisis on the war between Russia and Ukraine. And it's just not that. They're going to blame it on a lot of other things. Some of the things that we've been seeing in the news lately are trains derailing, and a lot of those trains are carrying cargo of fertilization chemicals, pesticides, uh, manure, if I'm correct. And not just that, they're carrying wheat, they're carrying barley, they're carrying flour, they're carrying seeds. And so if these trains derailed, then the cargo is destroyed. And when that cargo is destroyed, they're going to tell you that, oh, this is the reason why there's food shortages. This is the reason why the groceries in the stores are increasing, because the raw materials needed to produce those food products are being destroyed in stuff like train derailments, or is being affected by war. Um, when the war actually happens, the oceans are going to be impassable due to warships sailing throughout. So food is going to be even harder to transport through the ocean. When in fact that's not the case. That is not the case. You can actually look this up. Bill Gates, he has been buying farms throughout the world lately. And that has been happening for years now. And it's been going unnoticed. They'll never bring this up to you in the news or on social media. Instead, they'll tell you about how the latest celebrity is being cheated on, or how the latest celebrity was caught with drugs or something like that. You can look it up. Bill Gates and other, you know, and his billionaire friends are buying up farms. And what they do with those farms is that they just halt production. They just entirely halt production. No food is being produced, so that contributes to the shortage of the food crisis. So moving on. Yeah, Rockefeller Foundation President Rajiv Shah is calling for the United States to take the lead in tackling a massive immediate food crisis affecting many developing nations. After describing what is already a crisis of poverty in developing countries, like they ever cared in the first place, Shah pointed to the disruptive effect of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, noting the importance of the latter's role as a wheat supplier in his Bloomberg television interview. The United States World Food Program buys 40% of its wheat from Ukraine, according to Shah. I actually did not know this. That was interesting to know. On top of that, Shah said, is the fertilizer crisis, where you have farmers all over Africa no longer using fertilizer because it's not available, adding that 20% of it effectively came from Russia. You see how they use war to tie into the food shortage? Shah predicted that this fertilizer shortage is going to lead to an even bigger food crisis this summer and this fall. The Rockefeller Foundation, whose founding family has a history of commitment to eugenics. Oh man, guys, when you hear this word eugenics, it is not what you think it is. It is another word. It is another word for depopulation. It's just another word to find an excuse to delete, kill off, and eradicate people who they believe are less genetically superior to them. And by genetically superior, they really mean money, killing off basically low income people. All right. Yeah. So they have a history of commitment to eugenics and continues to champion population control. Oh, these murderers, these damn murderers, man. Has itself arguably left a path of destruction through its food initiatives, such as the Alliance for a Green Revolution in Africa. It funded in 2004. He's going around developing and funding and promoting GMO seeds or GMO crops to prevent starvation in high poverty areas. Now, it sounds like a good, like a good spirited thing to have. And hey, man, it's hard to criticize somebody doing stuff like that when I haven't done much in terms of trying to feed others. But I personally believe that the GMO crops that he's promoting, of course, they're designed to make you infertile. You know, to decrease the birth rate, to decrease sperm count, to decrease the chances of a woman's womb being fertilized. All right, back to the article. As much as I would love to go through that article, um, This video would be an hour if I did, and I just wanted to keep the focus on this one. So we continue. This is not communism. It is because if it were, the big corporations would not all be in on it. This is technocracy, using the power of data collection and advanced surveillance technology, which they leverage at every point of contact in the medical field, media, and social media, science, education, at the retail level, the military, and biosecurity levels. But how? People ask. Will they make it so we will own nothing and just rent everything from the billionaires and multi-millionaires? The writer of the article tells these people that if they were awake, they would see the answer to their question playing out in real time. By creating more and more money and deliberately driving down the value of the dollar, the Federal Reserve and the banking system force you to pay more for less. I know that's right. Man, I went and bought a medium-sized oxtail today, and that whole cost $20, man. I almost took the food back, bro. Yeah, I saw that $20 and I was like, nah, auntie, I'm good. But I kept it a G and took the food home. But damn, bro, $20 for a medium oxtail. Woo, life is getting expensive. I digress though. To survive, whether you are in the lower middle class, the middle class, or the upper middle class, you will pay more for the same gallon of gas, the same groceries, the same clothing as you had before. You can get by for a while by just buying less and cutting out waste. But after a while, you'll be looking to downsize your cars, your houses, your food intake, everything. And yeah, man, I couldn't have said it better myself. It's going to be a gradual process. You're just going to notice groceries getting more and more and more expensive until you realize that you can't even keep up anymore, until you realize how much a simple loaf of bread or case of eggs takes from out of your paycheck. This is why Mayor Rothschild said, I care not who makes the country's laws as long as I control its money." And yeah, man, it's not the mayor, it's not the governor, it is not the president who is in control of an economy or of a nation at whole. It's the bank, it's the supplier of money, and who's in charge of the money. And if I'm correct, that is the Rothschild family. Um, and they are one of the controlling parties behind organizations such as the World Economic Forum, the World Bank, and the Federal Reserve. A lot of you probably know by now the Federal Reserve it's not even registered under the U.S. nation. And on top of that, the paper, the notes that you use, the cash, that is that's actually under law. It is private property. Like it is not even if it's your wallet, it does not belong to you. And part of the reason why we pay taxes is to be able to use that asset, which belongs to whoever's running the Federal Reserve or the parties and the families behind the circulation of money. It is their asset, it is their property under law, and so we pay tax in order to use that asset as our cash. The plan is to price you out of everything to the point where you are renting a small apartment in the city next to a rail line, replacing your SUV with a mini electric car if you'll be able to afford one, or even a bicycle. Look at China, that's the future they have planned for us. So the more pain that is caused, the closer the elites get to being able to implement their great reset with digital QR codes attached to every human being, containing all your health records on a cell phone app, and connecting that app also to your bank account and your ability to log onto the internet. And that's the goal. Now, here's the catch: the billionaire globalist elite knows no elites. The billionaire globalist elites know their plan is unpopular. They know that at least half the population in wealthy countries will never go along with this plan willingly. They will have to be coerced in a time of horrific crises like war or a wave of public health emergencies and the extreme deprivation that such crises cause. Because the vast majority of Americans suffer from extreme normalcy bias, they can't see what's coming. They will be caught completely off guard. The sporadic shortages they see in the grocery stores now, these folks believe that's just a temporary glitch that will soon iron itself out. Nothing to worry about. They don't see the war and famine that is right around the corner. So when it arrives, they will be ruled by fear and confusion. Anxiety levels will be off the charts. Fear is one hell of a drug, by the way. And the way the news spills it out, they're the plug. You know, people love fueling and justifying their fears and their anxieties. Anyways, most will submit to the beast system that's being erected on the backs of these prearranged crises. Because of the rule of thirds, somewhere between 25 and 30% will never submit to this kind of system. Another thing that may not be in the news is de-sterilization. Like the sperm count of men is dying down rapidly at a scary rate. Um, yeah, men and women are increasingly becoming infertile. And again, that's a part of depopulation, man. They don't want you having children. They don't want you spreading, you know? The bottom line for the elites is this: the population is just too big and unmanageable for the type of resource based, total control society required by their dystopian technocracy. And if there's anything a technocracy simply cannot tolerate, it's a sizable population of people who don't know their place. And there you go, people. We're rats to them. We're a virus. They want us dead. They want us killed off. They still believe in free speech, the First and the Second Amendments, that people are born male or female, old fashioned stuff like that. They must be eliminated. The kill phase. How will they cull the population? For that reason, we have entered the kill phase of the Great Reset. Everything they are engaging in right now, these so called stakeholders, is confusing people to die prematurely in certain key countries where we have large middle class populations who are accustomed to living relatively free lives. They're not a good fit for the total surveillance society where your movement is monitored in real time, your spending habits are monitored and assessed, your eating habits that are monitored. Meat will be a rare treat, says the WEF. Meat already is a rare treat, especially if you're having those burgers from Wendy's, McDonald's, Burger King. That's not even real meat. That's just processed slime. Um, and apparently, a lot of that is also insects and bugs and stuff like that. And it's probably best that we stay away from that, guys, because that food, especially if you're a man, that food develops estrogen in your body, and of course, you guys know that's a female hormone, and that is why when you eat enough of those foods, you start growing titties, you start growing bellies and thick thighs. So stay away from that, man, and hit the gym, bro. Hit the gym. Like spend a few nights in the gym whenever you have free time, or be active in something. It doesn't even have to be the gym. It could be jogging. It could be speed walking. Try picking up a sport, but do something multiple times a week that gets your heart pumping. All of your life activity will be monitored in order to calculate and track your carbon footprint and assess your overall credit score. All right, let's take a look at the points of friction in society right now that are being fomented by the globalist elites who run everything from the monetary and banking systems to the major corporations to the media, big pharma, and big tech. All right, manufactured supply chain breakdowns along with food, fertilizer, and fuel shortages, which will all lead to famine. Check out the below video of a trail derailment last Sunday in Alberta, Canada. The train just happened to be carrying 43 containers of potash for desperately needed nitrogen fertilizer. Now, you guys see that? This is what I was talking about. They will cut off supply chain systems, um, trucks, boats, planes, if that's the case. They will sabotage these railways, especially targeting cargo that's carrying raw materials or any materials necessary for food production. All right. So one of the other things is promoting killer vaccines and booster shots with the return of vaccine mandates likely by this fall. I don't know when this article. I'm not sure when this article was written. Probably it looks like sometime in May or June. And I keep hearing this, like the likely return of vaccine mandates, and I don't really know. I don't I don't have all the answers to these things. And if you guys, are better aware, then please drop us a hint in the comments. I don't really know, man. It seems like Americans are stubborn, because they keep trying these things, but the plans get either postponed or suspended altogether. Now I know in Europe they're more conservative and more likely to follow what their government tells them to do. So I've heard of extremes of like not being able to get into stores or to go for services without digital ID in some cases, vaccine identities in some cases, and proof of vaccinations. Now I'm not sure what the situation is right now, but that's that sounds like a dystopian society. But anyways, fomenting civil unrest, mass shootings, and the resulting gaslighting of American gun owners with the incendiary rhetoric coming from the White House. The media will run back up for the Biden administration as it makes a play for some kind of national gun control measures. Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski on MSNBC are just two of the many media mockingbirds who deliver propaganda on behalf of U.S. intelligence agencies. Since the mass shootings in Buffalo and Uvalde, Texas, Mika and Joe have been hammering home the message that now is the time for the government to declare certain rifles illegal. This type of rhetoric threatening to disarm law abiding Americans at a time when crime is running out of control will only make more people want to buy guns for protection. Um, some of the reasons why they want to take guns away from you is because eventually they want to implement and send out or establish their own one world police force. I think the UN police force. And when that so happens, it will be martial law. They will be the law. They will control curfew times. When they tell you to go back to your house, it's time to go back to your house, and they don't want any form of retaliation or rebuke coming from the people. So that's one of the reasons why they want to take away your guns. Um, yeah, man. Signs are pointing to a civil war. I'm not sure about the timeline yet, but of course, man. As I know more, as I grow in this journey of truth, I'm letting you guys in. I'm letting you guys know it all. Escalating their proxy war against Russia into a regional and eventually a world war. China is going to make a play for Taiwan, and Iran may go after Israel. Russia and China are simply better prepared for this war than the US and Europe. Stoking the globalist obsession with LGBTQ transgender mania to the point where it's in your face everywhere. But more importantly, in your child's face at school, at summer camp, in the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts, even at many churches. Yo, any church that promotes LGBTQ, get out of there immediately, man. Man, that is not a church of the Most High. That is not a church of truth, and you are definitely better off finding the truth on your own. Um, and to be honest, I don't go to church, and yet the Most High has still blessed me with guiding me towards avenues and roads that lead towards truth, man. I read the scriptures and pray every day, and within that, I grow so much in knowledge, wisdom, and guidance, and observance, and just awareness, overall awareness, man, mentally, spiritually, um, and physically. And he'll do the same for you if you just reach out with a genuine intention, you know, and also a love for truth. All right, so this further weakens the pool of young people by confusing them about their own gender, and along with the gay and lesbian push, results in fewer babies being born. Depopulation. The more homosexuals you have, the less babies being born. The Diego population forecast of 2014. All of the above policies are driving at one thing: mass depopulation. I revert back to the analysis done by Diego Corp several years ago. Diego is a military contractor that in 2014 published a forecast of massive population reductions out to the year 2025. Wow. When America would be down to just 99 million people from over 330 million in 2014. Western European nations, especially in the UK and Germany, were forecast to see similarly drastic decreases in population. Based on the Diego calculations, assuming they turn out to be even close to accurate,